Welcome back to Two-Player Co-op. Dan's laughing already, primarily because we're recording from Studio B and his partner, his beloved, is sitting in the lounge right next to us and he thinks that's hilarious. We're waiting for a few comments from the hecklers in the audience, but what we're here to do to talk about today is the finale of Game of Thrones Season 5. We're going to do a wrap. We're going to do the whole wrap up of the episode itself and the season. What were your initial thoughts?
I can't believe it's done like 10 episodes already. It's pretty crazy. But this season, there's been some pretty big moments.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna jump into. And as far as I guess seasons overall, probably wasn't my favourite season, but it was definitely probably up there in my top 3 seasons. I don't know what I'm basing that on.
Top 3 or 5?
Top three or 5. No, so I think some mini highlights.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, let's cover this off in terms of the highlights for the season. Then, so have you got a top 5, top 3 moments from the season overall?
I'd definitely say my first moment would be the Battle of Hardhome, and I'd say it's definitely when the Night's King basically brought his army and he raised the dead. I thought that was definitely the moment where I was like, yeah, you can finally sort of got a sense of how powerful the White Walkers are, the battle that they're actually bringing, and how unprepared Westeros is. Absolutely,
yeah. So I totally agree. I think Battle Hardhome for me was the number 1 moment of this season. The Night's King is a badass mofo. We saw him very briefly in the finale of season 4, and that I think the peak of that moment for me was. Basically when he was like, "Come at me, bro."
Yeah, exactly.
Come at me, bro, and 10,000 bloody dead wildlings, and
especially when the camera panned out, and the boat's only 20 yards off the.
It just left the jetty,
right? And Jon Snow's that look on his face, like
dead silence. Yeah,
Jesus.
So great. I think we're both in agreement. Hardhome has got to be the number 1 moment for this Game of Thrones season 5. What about your next?
I'd say my next one probably would actually be Arya's first official kill. I guess Arya has actually killed before, but I actually said in the last episode I thought that her kill of Janos Slynt was going to be messy, but when I say Meryn Trant, sorry, what did I say?
Janos Slynt.
Different.
Brother killed him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then died too.
Yeah,
anyway. I thought it was going to be messy in the sense that she was going to mess it up, she wasn't going to be strong enough, and that it was going to be a close call, but it was the complete opposite. She went into full beast mode, stabbed his eyes, slit his throat, named herself, 100% badass.
Oh, yep, absolutely. The kill was awesome. I'm so glad. Like, it was for me, it was a messy kill in that it involved getting up and like personal with a knife.
Yeah.
But it was but it wasn't a messy kill.
It was clean.
It was clean in terms of the fact that she had a plan, obviously.
Definitely.
And she followed through on the plan. And I really like the fact that after she killed him, I mean, she absolutely nailed that. Total badass. And I thought, yeah, you've earned your 00. Moniker, but then she went back to the many faces god, the temple of the many faced god, and they were like, nah, you've stolen from the many faced god. Death must be repaid by death.
Exactly.
And then she turned blind.
Yeah.
Bit of a punishment, bit of a comeuppance for being a bit ahead of yourself.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see where they take that in the next season. That actually probably links into a bit of the book stuff, but we won't go into the book right now. We'll just sort of carry on talking about the show. So what about number 3?
This is interesting. It's interesting. So there's a couple of number 1 for me was Battle of Hardhome. I think number
so we're in agreement about 2 being the Arya or no?
No. Look, actually, tell you what, number 2, no, definitely not. Number 2 for me was Shireen being burnt at the stake. And I don't mean top moment, as in, yay, I was sitting there going, high-fiving everyone going, oh, that's awesome, eh? No, that was wicked. Shireen being burnt at the stake was a horrifying moment for me. But it was one of those moments that makes Game of Thrones what Game of Thrones is.
It was definitely a traditional Game of Thrones, we're going to put you on the edge of your seat and take you to a place that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah. And I put that up there with Ned Stark being beheaded. So when I was reading the books, and cause, I mean, I read the books before I saw the series, but I was reading the books and I was reading it and I could see it coming like a slow-moving freight train.
Yeah,
but I was like, so when's the guy going to rescue Ned Stark? It's going to happen, right? Like he's not going to die, surely. And the same thing with no, Shireen's not going to die, surely her father is not going to burn her at the stake. And it was right up there with Ned Stark being beheaded for me. But for me, number 2 spot goes to Shireen being burnt at the stake. Horrible.
Well, okay, so what's your number 3 spot then?
Have you got number 3?
I do have a number 3.
What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is Samwell Tarly. I guess popping his cherry as such. And Getting load. And good on Sam. Like, so Sam is one of those sort of like slightly annoying characters who's, you know, he's actually done quite a bit in the story, and he's actually a point of view character in the books. But I just thought it was awesome. Like it was good to see some good come his way, and I loved the moment in the last episode where basically he confessed it to John, and John was like, "My man!" Like he would have, if high fives were around in Westeros, he would have high fived him.
And I love the bit. It was like John had said something like, "Oh, you know, like you've kept your vows, eh?" And Samwell was just like, he's like,
vows.
"Samwell, you did keep your vows, eh?" It's like,
exactly.
So that was really good. For me, I think it's funny because I think both of our top 3s have come in the last 3 episodes or the last 4 episodes. My number 3 moment was got to be Cersei's walk of shame.
Right.
It was like it was one of those things I said last episode I really want to see, and I really want them to do it well. And it was pretty much how I pictured it happening in the book. Actually, almost in my mind's eye, it was almost exactly how I imagined it. And I've got to say, I don't know if Lena Headey used a body double or not, but she is she's got a banging body. Like she's in good shape for like mother of 3 and an old woman.
So she did use a body double.
She did, right?
She did. And I guess what was impressive about that scene is that, like, I expected that scene to be maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds of nakedness, but it felt like it was just more and more and more. It just kept going and going and going. But my favourite part of the whole walk of shame was when the crones were cleaning her down, washing her body down. She had that Lannister look in her eye where she was basically like, "Crones, I'm going to be back and you're going to die." And there was like, it's just like that slight smirk that's come over her face. And
he saw that again when the mad scientist guy, I can't remember his name, but her mad scientist basically, who she's trying to get to replace Maester Pycelle, brings out the mountain, Gregor Clegane, and he's obviously been reanimated and turned into essentially a walking zombie. And he's like, Your Majesty, this is the newest Kingsguard. He's taken a vow of silence, and he will not rest until he's killed every one of your enemies. She's cuddled up to him, and she's got that same smirk or that same sort of knowing smile, like, I'm going to get my revenge. I'm going to watch every one of those bitch ass nuns or whatever they are, crones, gutted from head to toe. And I love that because it's just such subtlety. I love the walk of shame because, like you said, it could have been just a 10-second clip of some nudity and then played it a different way. But I think the point of the walk of shame was that there's no escaping it. It's a long walk. Her feet were bloodied and mangled. That's right. And there's no way that you can keep your dignity with people spitting on you and throwing rotten fruit and waving their dongs in front of you.
I love that.
And calling you dropping the C-bomb.
I love that too when she was like just looking at the red keep and it gave her hope. Like she was like looking at it like, I'm almost there, And that moment she arrived and the Lannister men have sort of lined the bridge to the red keep. And I was thinking, like, those Lannister men, like, it would not have been worth all the gold in Westeros if they had like given her like any sort of weird look. Like they just had to like stand their ground.
No.
And I thought it was an interesting her arrival actually when she got back in there, and Uncle Kevin's there with Maester Pycelle, a bunch of other people from the small council.
Tommen's not there.
No, Tom's not there. Well, he's reminds me that he shut himself in his room and
he's sick,
to eat.
Right?
So
sick with grief.
Yeah, so definitely a great top 3. All right, so what's your 4th best moment of the show?
So I'd probably say, so we had the Battle of Hardhome, is number one. Shireen, the Walk of Shame. Look, it's got to be up there in terms of, you know, Arya's first assassination, Samuel Tarly getting laid. I don't know. I think just like the Night's King in general, just his reveal has got to be pretty. Maybe it's worth number. You know, we talked about the Battle of Hardhome in general.
The battle itself,
but I think the Night's King
as a
character, the introduction to him. And that fight, like, oh man, this just goes to how awesome Battle of Hardhome was, because there's so much in there you want to talk about again. That fight between Jon Snow and the Night's King's general, I guess, or
that's right, the
Cold Hands, whoever it is.
Not Cold Hands, different.
So much mystery. You know, I don't know if I have a fourth. I mean, there's a couple. Yeah,
I would say probably my fourth biggest moment of the show is not one particular scene, but I am glad that Tyrion has finally met up with Daenerys, and I really like the fact that story is now progressing, because Daenerys stuck in Meereen is like, that had to move on. It was getting a bit slow and painful, and I feel like now that he's there, like the banter levels are up, he's going to help move the story along, things are happening, and so I think just their connectivity is definitely a big moment for me.
Actually, I do have a fourth and a fifth. I think maybe you have to have that scene with Bronn and I can't remember which Sand Snake, but like, we all know which Sand Snake, but I can't remember her name. And they're in jail, and Bronn's been nicked on the arm by her daggers.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
She's like, "Am I the most beautiful woman in the world?" And he's like, "Oh, I've seen better. You know, what makes you think you're the most beautiful woman in the world?" I have the antidote to the poison that's killing you. She's like, "Yeah, you're the most beautiful woman in the world." And she's like, "Got everything out." And like, that banter was bloody awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, the season overall. It's funny, this season was a real slow boil. It built up. I think it packed a lot of punch in those last 3 episodes. Those last 3 episodes were probably for me the best of the season, and it really finished on a couple of big highs.
Definitely. So I agree. I sort of found the first maybe about 4 or so episodes, just little things were happening to progress the story, but nothing major, and it really. Just strap yourself in, because from about episode 7 it was all go.
I think the one negative I'll say is that Dany just faffed about in Meereen for far too long. That entire storyline really bored me to death. Here we go. Moment number 5 for Damien. Barristan Selmy. The death of Barristan Selmy, number 5. There we go.
How can we forget?
How could we forget that epic battle? Because Barristan Selmy, we haven't seen him in battle at all throughout the series. We've heard about the legends, but then that was what a way for a warrior to die. Protecting his friend, going to the rescue of the Unsullied, who, by the way, have been complete disappointment.
Shit.
But that was the way I wanted him to die. I wanted him to live. I wanted him to live longer, and I wanted to see him there at the end, protecting his queen, or maybe dying for his queen. But that was a great battle and a great way for a great man to die.
Definitely. I think probably my moment number 5 would be, I think it probably would have to be Daenerys riding a dragon, I think, and the fact that, I actually think that whole scene of where Sons of the Harpy taking over the stadium, that sort of turned into a bit of a giant battle, Daenerys summoning a Pokemon dragon and jumping on it and flying away. Where she landed in that whole story is quite annoying, but I like the fact that actually she used her dragons and it came in and sort of kicked some ass was pretty good.
She's showing a bit of command over the dragons. So last season she issued a command, or was it last season, maybe the season before? She issued a command to have that slaver burnt.
Maybe about season 3.
Season 3, maybe. Yeah. When
that's how long she's been fucking around.
And that's why it annoys me. And I was so happy to see her and Tyrion get together, as you're saying, because it moved that storyline along. But anyway, so back to so Daenerys and her dragons. She started to issue a few commands. She issued the command to fly Valard to Drogon. She was able to summon him and get him to fly. Funnily enough, and I guess we'll talk about the episode itself, but. The finale, but when she finally sort of got off the dragon, he was pretty beaten up and tired, and he wasn't going anywhere, was he? So she's got complete command.
Exactly. So Well, we've also talking about Daenerys while we're talking about her. So the fact that she's sort of in the middle of nowhere and starts wandering off, and then basically the Khalasar, a Khalasar arrives.
Yeah.
At first I was like, oh god, like.
Are we going backwards?
Are we going backwards? Is she going to now be like kidnapped by somebody and missing? Does this Khalasar know her? Like, it all just seems very painful for me, and I hope that, like, because we're probably going to talk a little bit now about some of our predictions mixed up with this, is that I hope that this isn't going to be just another drag out of her story.
Yeah. Like,
because I don't know how many more seasons we can have her always just being the victim.
Yeah, exactly. So, first of all, what an idiot. What an idiot.
Why did you leave the dragon?
You've got a dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, it might be a sleeping dragon, but you've got a dragon and you're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Oh.
You don't climb down a cliff face and then walk half a kilometre away from your dragon to get surrounded by 400 screaming Dothraki. Stick with your dragon, you idiot. Because you're a single white female in the middle of a pretty good looking woman in the middle of a bunch of Dothraki. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
What I hope happens is that this Khalasar is being raised by either someone who was loyal to her in the past, or they've heard legends of her being the mother of dragons.
Right, yeah.
And because you saw them circling around her at the end of her storyline for the finale, and so what I think is like they're here to sort of join up with her, and that what I hope is that's what says, hey, you've got your massive army, you've got the Unsullied, you've got the Khalasar, you've got whoever else is following you, let's get some boats and get over to Westeros. I really don't want to see another season of her mucking around in Marine. That would kill me.
Actually, just thinking about the episode, actually thinking about the season, another actually top moment for me, it's not probably not in my top 5, is I really enjoy Peter Baelish as a character.
Yeah.
Because he's so devious, and I actually loved a lot of his placement of
chess moves, right?
Chess moves and placement of different characters in the season.
I think
he's primed and ready for.
He's set himself up to go with the winner, whoever that might be. So he's playing Cersei like a fiddle. He put Sansa into Winterfell to marry Ramsay Bolton. And so that's carried fate, like he's shoring up his relationship with Bruce Bolton. Right. But then he's probably quite well placed to try and curry Stannis' favour. Yeah. Although Stannis,
wasn't talking about Stannis.
Wasn't talking about Stannis. What the hell's up with Stannis?
So first of all, his wife hung herself.
Yeah.
Couldn't take the grief of the daughter. Half of the army deserted.
Yeah.
And he basically, and Melisandre leaves him.
Yeah, so Melisandre is shaken by the news that half the army's deserted, and she takes off back to Castle Black. Stannis, being the commander he is, he's not going. Well, he knows he can't go back, so he's like, "Well, I'm not going to stay still. The snows have melted. Let's get to Winterfell." And he turns up to Winterfell with maybe what looks like 500 men.
If that,
he's preparing for a siege.
Yeah.
And then his mates, like his commander, is like, "There's not going to be a siege." And it looks like maybe twice their number in horse come out and charge them down.
I didn't know who they were at first. I was like, is this, are these guys from Winterfell? Are these Bolton's men? Because for a moment there, I sort of feel like I've been speculating that the Knights of the Eyrie were going to come and join Stannis. And I thought for a moment when they were charging towards them, I'm like, are these the Knights of the Eyrie? Is this going to be one of those Braveheart moments where like they charge towards each other, stop, shake hands, and then all attack Winterfell? But it appears not.
I thought that was Roose Bolton coming out to parley, to talk. Mm-hmm. I thought they were going to pull up and have a chat, but why would you? If you know Stannis is here to lay siege to you, and you got twice as many mounted soldiers, then he's got foot soldiers. Get in there and they rip them up. Yep. Ripped up his army, and the last scene we see is Stannis fighting. The last scene is in the Stannis storyline is that we see him killing a couple of common foot soldiers, and then Brienne Tarth appears, and she's got a sacred vow to fulfill.
Exactly. So she obviously. So the reason she's so upset at Stannis is that because the Shadow Baby that killed Renly had the face of had the face of Stannis Baratheon, and do you know the moment like when they're having their conversation, and basically I think Stannis was like, I recognise that you are fulfilling your knight's duty here, and he's like, get on with it then.
Do your duty.
Like I accept that guilty is charged.
Yeah, so I think he. I'm not so sure that he's like, oh yeah, I'm guilty. I think he's like, I'm not in any shape to avoid this, and he respects that Brienne's believes Brienne believes she's doing her duty.
At least anyway.
So he respects that she's doing her duty. He's always been about duty and law and order and that kind of thing. So he's like, do your duty. And so I really like that about Stannis. That's why I was always on Team Stannis, because he's kind of like that firm, very firm but fair guy. And we cut to Brienne cutting him down, maybe.
Well, so that's basically the moment where it sort of flicks to Ramsay. So we didn't know it. So while we're sort of talking about predictions and things here, so if you're not interested in predictions, might want to sort of heed what we're about to say.
Well, I guess there's no spoilers anymore, right?
There is no spoilers. Like we don't know.
The book is the series is now outpaced the book.
We don't think Stannis is dead.
Don't think Stannis is dead
at all, because first of all, Stannis has been a huge character throughout the whole story arc basically, and in this season he's had a lot of airtime, and a show which is not afraid to show anyone being cut down, killed, or anything. And I think Stannis, it's just left too open. There's no reason for him to die in the way.
No. So my theory is Stannis is not dead. I think just as the point where they cut away, just at the point where Brienne was about to kill Stannis. But what you did hear was a woman's scream as they cut to Ramsay, and you might be thinking, oh, it's just someone that they've killed, that Ramsay's killed. But I think what's happened is that Stannis is not dead, but Brienne of Tarth might be. She's at least wounded. I reckon that what you heard was Brienne of Tarth crying out as perhaps the brothers without banners came to rescue Stannis. I think the brothers without banners have come to heed Melisandre's call or catch up with Stannis, because remember Melisandre has connections with the brothers without banners, and that maybe Brienne of Tarth's been hit by an arrow or knocked over or whatever. Stannis is not dead.
Yes, agreed. So I guess another character sort of in that same realm of Winterfell, well, as part of Winterfell, is obviously Sansa and Reek, or Theon Greyjoy escaped Winterfell. Well, jumped off the side of the wall at Castle Winterfell. So
Theon finally overcame Reek, so to speak, and tossed Ramsay's girlfriend, the Kennel Master's daughter, over the rampart, and they jumped out and disappeared. What I really liked about that scene was Sansa going, if I'm going to die, go and kill me.
Exactly. And Theon knew the pain that Sansa was in for as soon as she was no longer needed, and it was good that he sort of finally stepped back up and was like.
I was quite happy to see the Kennel Master's daughter die.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Yeah, definitely.
Biatch.
Bitch, definitely. So
one more thing we probably need to cover off with the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Big thing. I think, and I feel like for me, this was the Red Wedding all over again. If you read the books, I read all the way to the end of season of book 5, or whatever the last book was, and I knew it was coming. A lot of people who read the series or who hadn't read the books didn't know it was coming, and it was kind of like, are they going to do it? Are they not? Jon Snow.
Yeah, wow.
And the internet went crazy.
Look, I think the thing, so Jon Snow again has been a big character for the last 5 seasons, and for him to die the way that he died in that episode was really frustrating. So we knew that the brothers of the Night's Watch were unhappy with him basically living in the wildlands. We know that young Ollie was like, the wildlands killed my family, and was definitely unhappy. But that moment when they were like, oh, we've got news of your brother. Obviously not your brother, your uncle.
Benjen
Stark. And he goes he comes running out with him, and there's a sign that says traitor.
As soon as I saw that, it was like, so.
So.
Well, as soon as he saw that, he was like, oh shit, okay, something's happening. He turns around. I forget the Alistair Thorne.
Yep, that's right.
Strikes the first blow. Ollie strikes the last blow, which is a real twist of the knife, so to speak, figuratively and literally.
And not just like a little thing. This is like a long dagger that's like
a dirk, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So Jon Snow dies.
Now, I think much like Stannis Baratheon, and despite what, some things, interviews and things floating around the internet, I also don't believe that this is the last we're going to see of Jon Snow. And I guess there's a few reasons for that. Like, one, Melisandre arrives at camp literally 2 minutes before he died, and we know she's got the ability to bring people back from the dead. I think that there's still the connection between Jon Snow and his direwolf ghost, so who knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And just in general, I think I know why. Like, I feel like Jon Snow has a role to play in the story, but he can't fulfill that destiny while he's at the wall. And I think to a degree he had to die to be released from his vow.
So I love that theory, and I hadn't considered it. And when you mentioned it or explained it to me, I was like, oh, that's really cool, because he's always taken his vow very seriously.
Exactly.
I know he actually the vow doesn't say that you're not supposed to sleep with women.
That's right.
It says,
you don't take any wives.
Yeah. He's always been serious about his vow and his responsibilities to be the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Him dying and either walking into Ghost or being resurrected by Melisandre. And remember, because we saw Beric Dondarrion
That's right.
from the Brothers Without Banners be resurrected.
And he's been resurrected multiple times, like not just once. So
so we know that can happen. This is a great way for the character to come back and be released from his oath, to stay at the wall and play a bigger part in the kingdom.
Exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised, like Jon will probably fight that. He'd be like, no, I can't give up my but like this will be the thing. But keep in mind, every prediction I've pretty much made for this season has not come true. So that's my thoughts anyway.
Let's drink on some ice.
Oh, fair enough. So anything else major in that episode? I think we pretty much covered all the main.
Yeah. So we talked about the assassination. We talked about.
We talked about what's happening at King's Landing.
So maybe let's talk about predictions, theories for next season. Or the future in general.
The future. So I guess one other main character which we've seen nothing of this season is Bran.
Yeah.
So Bran is off at Hogwarts training to be a wizard with the Children of the Corn.
The tree children.
The
tree sorcerer.
Young children and an old guy.
And an old guy in a tree.
Yeah. Anyway, he is doing something on the other side of the wall, and I think Bran has got a huge role to play when it comes to the battle between the White Walkers and basically Westeros. So
I feel like Bran, what Bran's off doing is related to somehow the old gods. I think we know that. We know that it's related to the old gods. We know that the White Walkers are sort of fairy tales come true, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
They haven't been around in millennia, so they become this fairy tale. So I think that the key to defeating the White Walkers is not with Valyrian steel or not with a sack of dragon glass. Those are weapons to fight them.
That's
but
right.
The key to defeating them is going to be whatever Bran's doing. I don't know how, I don't know why, or quite how it's going to manifest. But I'm hoping.
Well, their secret weapon really is Hodor. So Bran is going to walk into Hodor. He's just going to go beast mode. He's going to clear out everyone, some sort of like spinning axe move, and game over.
Right. Yeah. So look, whatever Bran's up doing there with the pixies and the gnomes and that tree guy, whatever they're doing, I think is the key to defeating. Ultimately, the key to defeating the White Walkers, as well as Dany and the dragons. We saw the dragons weren't particularly invulnerable. They can be defeated, I think.
I think also there's going to be some comeuppance against now that Jaime is on his way back to King's Landing. They've got the young prince, and obviously Marcella has now been killed because of the poison. We didn't touch on that before.
That was sad.
That was sad.
I like Jaime. I've liked Jaime as a developed his character.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was kind of like, he was really awkwardly coming around to we don't choose who we love, and she was like, and Marcella was like, I know. I've always known. I think I've always known.
I know where I got his golden hair from.
Yeah. And so they share an embrace, and she's basically said, I know that you're my dad, and I think I'm pretty okay with it. And he's like, yay, and then she starts dying. That was so sad.
It was sad. And I think you're right, because I think Jaime as a character is quite well liked by a lot of people, and it was Jaime, all he really wants is Cersei's love. and she's pretty ruthless, and it was the one sort of moment where as a character we actually got him to see a bit of happiness, and it was momentarily.
They have softened him considerably since the start of season 1. You remember season 1? He was an arrogant, he was arrogant as hell, man.
He stabbed Ned Stark in the back of the leg in that battle. He was.
And he shoved Bran out the window. Just.
Yeah.
I don't care.
ZF.
It was pretty ruthless, and now he's he's less so.
Yeah. Well,
he's softened. He's got he's the funny kind of old Uncle Jamie.
Definitely.
With only one hand.
Exactly. So I think obviously, what are we, season 5? There's, probably another 2, maybe 3 seasons left. We've got to be getting close to the point where things are starting to sort of move around the board. I think so. There's lots to happen with. I think the Ares still got a role to play in the battle. I think Dawn's obviously going to step it up. I think there's obviously going to be a lot happening with Dany and Tyrion, and they're going to start making their move. What's going to happen back at King's Landing? Because I feel like the High Sparrow has such a control over the city that I feel like
so for me, I want to see. I don't like Cersei. I love the character. I love the acting and all that. But Cersei's she's got to get her comeuppance. Although to a degree she's a victim of circumstance, because she's been raised in this to be a political pawn, and she's had to do what she's had to. She unconditionally loves her children, but I want to see Cersei absolutely destroy the High Sparrow and his little priestesses and priests, or his followers, because I can't stand religious fanaticism, extremism, and I feel like, you guys are so far up yourselves.
Definitely.
I want to see her destroy those, even though she put them in play. Don't forget that. I want to see. I want to see. I want to see what happens with Stannis. I want to see what happens with Jon. I think. There's a really interesting theory which I was reading about on the internet.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think it's really good.
So this is probably one area where you might want to just switch off if you don't want to start putting together pieces of the puzzle and coming up with an end game. So this might be a semi-spoiler alert, so just beware. There's a theory going around, and it's supported by
quite good evidence.
Evidence in the book around there being 3 dragons and who might win in the end, and how that might all come together. So we know that Daenerys is the son of the Mad King Aerys, and sister to Rhaegar Targaryen, and their house is fire, right? The other person that have we talked about Jon Snow's mother?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we talked about Jon Snow's mother, and the fact that Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark were in love. And the theory goes that Jon Snow is the fruit of that romance.
That's right.
And so Jon Snow is actually Daenerys' nephew, and next in line legitimately next in line to the crown.
Which, bringing him, Melisandre bringing him back to life through the fire and that magic is...
That gives some credence to the fact that when Melisandre saw that half of Stannis' army had disappeared, she goes, I've miscalculated, and maybe what I saw in the flames was actually Jon Snow, who was Azor Ahai, or the prince that was promised. So maybe she's gone back to raise him up, and he's going to become a major figure. He's the legitimate. He's got Targaryen blood, which is the house symbol is fire. He's got Stark blood, ice, a dance of ice and a song of ice and fire. Title of the entire series.
So what you've done there?
That's 2 players out. 3 dragons. And I think there was a prophecy when the reason the 3 dragons thing is important, because there was a prophecy when Daenerys was in the House of the Undying. They said the 3-headed dragon. So Daenerys, Jon, who's the third? This is where it gets. This is the bit that I hadn't heard, and I was quite blown away. And there's good evidence. Tyrion Lannister.
I like it.
I know. Well, immediately people are like, "Wow, this is crazy," and this might sound like a bit off the boil and weird, but listen, hear me out. At Tywin Lannister's wedding, the Mad King Aerys lamented about the lack of bedding rights, traditional bedding rights for the king. And it's quoted, he took liberties at the undressing or the
ceremony, basically.
The ceremony, the bedding ceremony. So there's and there was also a reference to Tywin's wife, basically, potentially finding him King Aerys attractive. So there's a little bit of subtext around Aerys and Tywin's wife, Tywin Lannister's wife, getting together. There's a couple of references to Tywin saying, "Since I cannot prove that you are not my son, you'll do what I say."
Yeah, right.
But he's not willing to give him Tyrion Lannister any responsibility. He's not willing to name him heir of Casterly Rock because he doesn't believe that Tyrion Lannister is his son. And then finally, just as Tyrion is about to kill Tywin Lannister, he says, "You're no son of mine." Now this is all circumstantial, highly circumstantial, highly circumstantial,
Definitely.
but it could point to a potential third Targaryen in play. So that's Tyrion Lannister, Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen.
What a combo!
Potentially all on the backs of dragons.
What a combo!
And we know that Tyrion and Dany already getting on well. They already like each other. Tyrion admires Dany. Dany respects Tyrion's advice, and
Tyrion also likes Jon Snow, because they've met before.
He does. And this is the other thing: is Rhaegar Targaryen in the books is described as being quite a bookish person. As is Tyrion Lannister. He loves his books. He loves to read, and I think he references. He says he has a great interplay with Jon Snow. He likes Jon Snow. Jon Snow kind of likes him too.
Yeah.
So I think there's this. This is a potential theory, just potential, but highly circumstantial.
Yeah,
but there is evidence in the books that could point to this being sort of a potential alliance / endgame. Crazy, right? Crazy, Tyrion.
Jesus,
Tyrion.
Honestly, I can't wait. They have to wait another 8 months to get more. It's such a long time, but especially because there's no books that you can even refer to just get more. And that's the thing. You're just I just want more.
So what I might do is in the off season, so to speak, is there's a compendium. So by the time George R.R. Martin finishes this series, I think my son will be having his 21st. I don't know. But in the interim, there is a compendium which goes into the background of everything leading up to the Mad King being killed. So they go into a little bit more detail around the romance between Rhaegar and Lyanna, the tournament where that's sort of referenced.
The tourney.
They go into much more detail about the history of the houses. So they do a house by house breakdown. And just general history of Westeros. So that might be a really good, if you want, like me, if you want a little bit more detail, if you want to go a bit deeper into the world of Westeros and Essos, or Essos, whatever the other continent's called, who cares? You want to go in a bit more detail of that, get that book. It's kind of like a Game of Thrones compendium, hardcover, big book, lots of illustrations. I'm definitely going to be reading it.
Awesome, I might check that as well, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that probably brings us to the end of our Game of Thrones, I guess.
Sadly.
So we're going to start talking about something else.
Yeah. Well, we started this. We started 2PlayerCoOp with end in mind, which was The Force Awakens. And we've sort of interchanged Game of Thrones and Loot Crate unboxings and the Force Awakens stuff, gaming stuff.
That's right.
So I mean, this is the end of a chapter in season 1.
Yeah,
Game of
definitely.
Thrones is over. We were looking forward to a couple of new programs coming forward. We're going to talk about some more Star Wars.
Exactly. There's more Star Wars. There's some Walking Dead. There's going to be lots going on.
So there's lots to keep tuning in for.
So I guess next week for our next episode, what we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into, if you're interested, is actually The Witcher 3. And we may even have a special guest along.
Yeah.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah. Witcher 3, something we've both been playing.
Exactly.
Going crazy on the internet. And actually, if you're a subscriber, I have put up a romance option walkthrough. So we screen recorded a romance scene with Keira Metz, who's the witch, and the first romance option for Witcher 3. So go check that out. And I think this weekend I'll be uploading another one, the next one for Triss Marigold, who was a fan favourite. So
check us out next time for The Witcher 3. Now we've got one final thing to do before we end the episode. And so if you've been following our videos, if you watched our Loot Crate unboxing, we have got the May Loot Crate to give away. And so the Loot Crate theme, what was this, Unite?
This was Unite. So we've got the we ran a unboxing, and Dan asked a question at the end of that episode, which was
basically in another episode we did where we interviewed Wilberforce, a fan or a trial from the ringside called him a name, which was Burger King, which was the question we asked.
And he kind of liked that nickname,
right? He did.
So you had to subscribe to our channel and answer put the answer to the question in the comments field. And
so the winner of the May Loot Crate is actually the Narc. So
yeah, well done.
Congratulations. Now, if you get in contact with us on Twitter and give us your details, we'll get this Loot Crate out to you. And yeah, so stay tuned and keep watching 2PlayerCoOp for more content. Yeah,
so congratulations to the Narc. This Loot Crate is all yours. Get in touch with us on Twitter. We got what time for just a little bit of fan feedback?
Always.
All right, so a big shout out to Jewish Dave, who writes on episode 2 of Loot Crate, episode 2 of 2PlayerCoOp, sweet puffer vest.
I'm going to take it as a compliment. This isn't my puffiest or puffer vest. This is
the puff factor is pretty minimal.
I'd say a puff factor of 1. The puffer vest that he was talking about is quite puffy.
Yeah, kind of. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of. I think Back to the Future, Marty McFly.
Right.
Puffer vest.
Now, so the comment "sweet puffer vest," I'm taking it as a positive. Now, when I said it to my girlfriend, she actually said to me, "Well, if you're going to be on the internet, you've got to get ready for some hard feedback." So she obviously took it as a negative. I'm taking it as a positive.
Oh, look, because YouTube is renowned for having lots of supportive, positive comments.
Definitely.
I just want to say thank you, Jewish Dave.
Thank you, Jewish Dave.
Good on you.
Yeah.
If you are in fact Jewish.
Yeah. If you want more puffer vest, you should tweet at us. Hashtag more puffer vest.
Hashtag more puffer vest.
Exactly, and I'll bring it back. I'll bring it back for another episode. Maybe next week. We'll see.
So look, that sort of wraps the episode.
Definitely.
Thanks for your feedback. Thanks for entering our competition. Thanks for watching us as we go through the Game of Thrones thing. Next week, Witcher. Make
sure you follow us at 2PlayerCo_op. And you can also follow Damien at Dealer Brizzle, or you can follow myself at Daniel_Whiting.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe.
Subscribe.
Check out our YouTube page. And thanks very much.
See you guys next time.